You know how we do a lot of these and you really never have to edit or cut or anything like that?
Oh, are we gonna have to edit and cut in here?
Oh, I think so because I made a list. I checked it twice and then I went to stack everything up and I looked at that stack and went, that's not. I could quite possibly have to change this as we go.
Are you
That's
serious?
listen to me. I've already got Ajita about this. Don't make pop stomach.
You gotta
go
come here
off the deep
prepared
end.
with a list that
Look, this is hard.
the whole
I'm
basis of this
prepared.
video is you making a list.
I'm not happy. Welcome back to Talking Story. My name is John Minton. That right there is my literary wingman.
I don't know, Listmaster 9000.
I'm sure, I hope so because I need some help.
You're not getting.
Can you believe? Look, it's been a year since we did our standalone fantasy top 10 list. So every year we're going to revisit. We're going to look at it because I've read. Look, this list has changed. I've changed as a reader from some of these books that have moved me. So this list is going to change as we go along. So year by year, we're going to revisit these lists and kind of update how we are on this journey. So you have the technology. You can just throw up.
I am the technology. Well, I'll say it. So
And I don't mean throw up in that way.
No.
Like don't Technicolor yawn right here on camera. I'm just saying, stop it. You know what that does to me.
I do.
Don't.
Number 10 was last year.
No, we're not. Look, just put the list up.
Okay.
You don't have to read it out. This will be 5 hours long. Throw the list up. Here's the top 10 from last year, and you can tell one is part of a series that I didn't even know. So you can tell right away some of these things are going to change. And I had to institute. I'm calling this the GGK rule. I read my first Guy Gavriel K book, and I can already tell that I have to institute the GGK rule, and that is going to be that I'm not going to have an author on there more than once, because going in the future, I can just see it becomes a Guy Gavriel K list.
You broke that last year.
I can already feel that happening, and so I had to really go deep and look at some things, really look at how we review things, the 5 things like world building, character, plot, prose, pace, really go in deeply and look at some things, because there are some books here that were like really high last year that aren't going to be on there because I only went with one book per author. So I can, going forward, I don't run into that problem.
I'm excited. I was checking what your list was last year, and I was pretty sure there were going to be a lot of changes.
Yeah, we've got some changes. We've definitely got some changes. And it doesn't even match up to what my list is here that I made earlier, because I already rearranged the stack. And I can tell you on the fly, I might have to rearrange again. So just get ready. Suck it up, Buttercup. This
ready.
is what's happening.
I'm ready.
Okay. We're going to go with number 10 is William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. No change
Same as
there.
last year. All right.
Same as last year. One, I think, a great fantasist. I know it's a different medium. I know it's stage. I know it's a play. That's right up my alley, right into my background, right into my sweet and happy spot. But look, he was writing for the Groundlings. He was writing ghost stories. He was writing mysteries. He was writing fantasies. The Tempest, Midsummer Night's Dream. For me, Midsummer Night's Dream is such a wonderful lyrical fantasy. It's got comedy. It's got a lovely, poignant love story. It is so much fun. The courts of Titania and Oberon overreaching into the human world and just causing mayhem. And one of the finest final soliloquies by Puck. I just absolutely love it. It stays on the list. Top 10 standalones. Number 10, Midsummer Night's Dream.
Knew it had to be on there.
Yeah.
Knowing
you know what?
I knew this one wasn't going to change.
That was not going to go away. I couldn't do it. I absolutely couldn't do it.
But number 9, last year you had Weave World.
Yeah.
By Clive Barker.
And I looked deeper into some things, and I had to switch things up a little bit.
Right.
And I had to go number 9. I'm going.
Have you not decided?
I'm going to do it. Shut up. Number 9. I'm going The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab.
Wow. Okay.
This came down a little bit. I'm a huge romantic. I love this story. It's kind of all the way back to the 1700s where a woman is cursed or blessed with immortality. But here's the rub. No one can recognize her. She can't have connection because from day to day, no one can know who she is. So she's just kind of floating and moving through this life until she meets young Henry in a bookstore. And for some bizarre reason, he can remember her. And then from there, this lovely love story takes hold and into effect and goes forward. It's such an amazing supernatural story of that long drawn out life. That's why I love vampires so much, because you get to see that human experience expanded and drawn out so far. This does the same kind of thing, and it does it with some of the most romantic, lush, beautiful prose in recent memory for me. Still on the list. It came down a little bit. It was a little higher last year. Came down a little bit, still on the list at number 9, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. If you're a romantic at heart, absolutely you have to give this a try.
I don't know why I wasn't expecting a book to come down on the list, but I guess it does make sense. You got to make room.
I got to make room. I got to make room. And this kind of like leapfrog, because when I started thinking about things, when I started really looking deeper instead of just going nostalgia and, oh, I love this one, I read it and just put it together like the way I did last year, and I really started critically thinking and breaking it up into our 5 ways of reviewing, some things just kind of changed for me. So number 8, I even changed this from my list here. Number 8.
Well, number 8 last year, you had Middle Game by Sean and McGuire.
And you know that's not going to be there because I found out that's a trilogy.
Yeah.
So that's got to go. So number 8, Weave World by Clive Barker.
Okay.
So when I start looking at it and the layers and I start thinking about, God, this is such an amazing dark fantasy, and it's such a breath of fresh air, so different when you start thinking about this amazing magical race, the seer kind, that creates their entire world. As the modern world crunches down on them, they need a safe place to go. So they compact and compress and make their entire world into this beautiful tapestry, this beautiful woven tapestry or carpet type situation. And this whole world exists there, and there's always some kind of caretaker. And the most recent caretaker has suffered a stroke and is in the hospital, which leaves this incredibly vulnerable, this fugue world. And the scourge is trying to come in and take it away. And this is such a deep, deep look at otherness, the real world, trying to find your place, trying to find a safe place, trying to assimilate when you're not quite like the rest of the world. These type of themes that Clive Barker delved into and examined over and over again, so close to his own life experience. And when I start looking at the layers of this and the amazing breath of fresh air, the mythology that he created and the entire world that he created and the way he created it, it just kind of leapfrogged with Addie LaRue. So now this comes in at number 8 for me, Weave World by Clive Barker. Such an amazing fantasist. Don't think of him as just a pillar of horror, which he is, no doubt. Also think of him as a very, very accomplished fantasist.
I definitely wasn't expecting a book to go up on the list. That's surprising to me.
When I dug a little deeper this year, making spots, some things have changed. And let me see where this one is. What are we at to now?
We're at number 7 now. Which
7. We're at number 7.
Year, you had Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah. This year is something different.
It looks like
something
that's
different. That's not Warbreaker. Number 7, I'm going with The Peculiarities by David List. This is a new read that I did this year, and I absolutely adored it. David List is so well known as a historical fiction writer, and he does it again with this. He starts off in the 19th century, and I love books that surprise you. This is so rooted in reality in the 19th century London. And then he starts breathing in these amazing strokes of magic. He starts out with a very real organization, the Hellfire Club, that was looking into occult studies at that time in London. And he starts weaving in this story of what if some of these things started to actually catch hold? What if some of these things started to change the world around us and cause these peculiarities? Babies are being born. They're not quite human. They're not quite inhuman. We've got living trees. We've got crossbreed between humans and rabbits. It's just completely, reality is becoming unwound and unwoven because magic is insinuating itself into this world. And just when you think you have a hold of what this book is, it kind of changes on you. It starts off being like an amazing family drama, something like Eugene O'Neill's Long Day's Journey into Night. Then it becomes a mystery. Then it becomes magical realism. Then it becomes dark fantasy. And he just does every stroke so unbelievably well until he wraps it up at the end and ties it up so neatly with a bow. It's such a wonderful, wonderful read. And new this year, had to get it on the list. The Peculiarities by David Liss.
Love it.
Yeah.
Very cool to see David Liss on there.
Yeah, I love David Liss, and he was such an amazing person to talk to us after we read this. So I'm so happy it hit so well with me. What's coming up? What number are we at, man?
We're at number 6 now, which
We're number 6?
We're at number 6.
Last year was
The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which you bumped down quite a bit.
Quite a bit. And while I think about it, and as I go deeper into the Cosmere and start to really appreciate what the man is doing, Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson has come up. I did read some other standalones this year, Tress of the Emerald Sea, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. But for me, Warbreaker still stands head and shoulders above those as a standalone fantasy. Again, Brandon Sanderson, for me, an amazing romantic writer. He uses this theme over and over again, a princess leaving her kingdom to go to be betrothed into another kingdom to save both kingdoms. He does this over and over again. And in this one, the sisters Vivienne and Ciri, which daughter will the king send? Not who you would expect. And then the intrigue happens because where she is going, the kingdom she is going to, is populated by living gods. And he does it again to me. The Sanderlanche was so effective here, and he absolutely laid every breadcrumb for it to pay off, and I should have seen it, and yet I didn't see it, and it just blew my hair back when it got there. And if all that's not enough, has deep Cosmere tie-ins and a psychopathic talking sword. If you haven't read this, oh my gosh, what more do you need to hear than a psychopathic talking sword? This is so much fun. And also, you know why you pay the ticket for the price of admission for a Brandon Sanderson book, and that is the magic system. And this one is absolutely gorgeous, relying on the breath of life itself and taking breaths from others and storing up this energy and this magic. And you can use it to imbue inanimate objects to come to life and do your bidding. That's just one kind of step of it as it moves forward and goes on. Just an amazing standalone as I get deeper and deeper into the Cosmere and I see how things tie together and I see how his mind works. I had to bump this up. This took a step up for me this year. Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Hey, just a quick break from the show to say a very special thank you to all of our correspondents, our directors, and our producers here that help us build the channel. Together, they do so many things. They help us make decisions. They help us keep the lights on and keep rolling, all the way up to taking over our channel once a month and getting their content on our channel. If you're interested and you have any questions about it, right down there in the description box under the Patreon link, you can find out all about it. And just a very special thank you to all of these people. Now, back to the show. So I think we're our top 5, right?
Now we're at top 5, yeah. Last year, number 5 was Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke.
Yeah. It's not that.
Well, if it was, you might be breaking your rule because last year you had 2 Susanna Clarke books. This was one of them.
I know. So now I had to swap. I had to change things around and do some real thinking. But hey, here we go. Number 5 for me this year, and this is a new read again, To Ride Hell's Chasm by Janny Wirtz. This is another one of those books that absolutely surprises you as you move through it. You kind of start, every time you think you have a hold of this narrative, it shifts and changes on you. Just like maybe a simple mystery to begin with. And then you start looking into a little bit deeper in intrigue. And then you start getting these broad strokes of demonic horror put in here. Then you start looking at this as some of the most deep character journeys that I can recall lately in fantasy. My character of Mikhail to this day haunts me. This outsider that is dealing with these past things that he couldn't pull off, and he pays internally in the guilt, and he's an outsider in the court, and he's just trying to get by, and then he gets pulled into this mystery, and he will not allow himself to fail again, even at the expense of him, of his self and his health and his livelihood. He will put it all on the line for this because he just can't fail again. And being an outsider, there are moments that he is called to task and degraded, and he faces it time and time again with such grace and strength. I just absolutely love this character, and I absolutely love this world. I absolutely love the intrigue of it. The intrigue is always earned as you move through this court intrigue, as this mystery gets deeper and deeper and broader, and the world grows and gets wider. Everything that happens, every bit of intrigue, every shift, every turn is completely earned, and you buy in and believe it right up to the ending that shocks you and surprises you. And it's just when you think you're in a corner and, oh my, how are we ever going to possibly wrap this up? She does, and you completely buy it. She does, meaning Janny Wirtz does, and you completely buy it. And you are just soaring along with the characters by the end of this book. And I could not recommend it enough. The prose is also beautiful in this. It's not just simple prose. It's a little bit more intentional, a little bit more, you have to focus a little bit harder than I would say something like Warbreaker, but absolutely the payoff for it is absolutely there as you take the time to really you sink yourself into this language and sink yourself into the voice of these characters. You will start to see the world around you as it's being painted for you, and you will absolutely reap the benefits by taking the time to enjoy that language, that journey that Janny Wirtz is going to take you on. In the top 5, To Ride Hell's Chasm by Janny Wirtz.
That makes me happy to see Janny in the top 5. Next up,
so where are we going to...
Oh,
go ahead.
Next up, you got number 4, which was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke.
Right. So something had to go here.
Yeah.
Something had to go, and as I look at the 2 choices we had last year, look, I have to pick Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke at number 4. To me, this is more of an achievement than Piranesi. Piranesi is an amazing, magical, standalone single read. But when I think about my top 10 all-time list, this for me, such an achievement. The world building in this, kind of the way David List did it, she starts with the real world. She starts with London during the Napoleonic Wars, and magic is coming back to the kingdom, and there's 2 mages kind of fighting for supremacy, very different ideologies. And in this book, to make it feel just even more real and grounded, you've got like 200 footnotes as you go through that kind of outline what happens with magical study and magical students and the world that it's creeping into and the world that it used to inhabit and what happened to that and how it's coming back and what kind of price that can take a toll on these 2 practitioners as they kind of fight each other for supremacy and place in court. Very different men, very different people, kind of shades of Amadeus. One is kind of truly gifted. One probably really wants to be that gifted, but has to work a touch harder. And these 2 men, as they jockey for position, it looks like a chonker. It is a chonker, and yet it's an enormously fast page turner because you just can't stop seeing and going through this relationship and all the characters that are around them and this time. And the world building is phenomenal. Had to go with this one just for overall achievement. I think top 10 all-time list for achievement. This is just phenomenal.
Awesome. I am shocked that when you had to pick between the two Susanna Clarke books, you picked the one that you ranked lower than the other one.
But I had to go deeper and critical this time because I had to make cuts. And when I go deeper and critical, this for me stands a bit higher on the achievement
Gotcha.
for me. And now you're making me question it. We could have to maybe cut
No,
and pull Paranisi up here.
You already did it. That's the one. It's too late. You don't get a chance.
It could be different next year. I don't know.
It will be different.
So top three.
Top three.
Top three. At number 3 is something different. Number 3 is something new.
American Gods by Neil Gaiman is what you had last year.
I had American Gods by Neil Gaiman last year. This year at number 3, I'm going Guy Gavriel Kay, A Song for Arbonne.
There's your one.
Unless it could be overtaken by something next year by GGK. I don't know. At this point, this is the first GGK read I've done. Wow. Amazing. Taking a moment in history and changing that into a fantasy land. Lush, amazing language. This is a story about storytellers and bards and singers. And what is it about? Imagine the most important thing in your life. Maybe it's country. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's family. Maybe it's that passion, that drive, that obsession to create something from nothing, art in and of itself. This book is about all of those things, any and all of those things at the same time. From the very moment of this prologue, you're thrown into this world, this romance, tragedy, and then as you move through it and you learn about this world that is very broad, not only about this story of storytellers and bards, but then another kingdom that is kind of like a dark mirror of this matriarchy. You have a dark mirror over here in this patriarchy, and as the war brews and grows closer and closer, you get very, very intimate portrayals, and you get to know these characters that are in the middle of this, running from one kingdom to another, standing up, drawing a line as this war is barreling down on them. And then all of these things, all of these breadcrumbs that GGK has laid out pay off at the end in the most amazingly satisfying and yet surprising way at the end. I was just swept away by it. And when the end came, it was unbelievably satisfying. I just felt triumphant for having just taken the journey. I cannot wait to read more GGK. My very first read of his at number 3, Song for Arbonne by Guy Gavriel Kay.
Man, I hope you get to talk to Guy Gavriel Kay someday, just based on how much you love.
That would be, I would just fall down probably. So number 2, looking at things how they kind of go. What was it last year?
It was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah. This year, kind of shifting things around. I'm going Neil Gaiman, American Gods.
Wow, it went up. Okay. It
went up because, again, starting to look at the whole thing and the achievement level of this is kind of taking some of the themes he started in Sandman about taking a pantheon, a larger than life, non-human pantheon, giving them human Achilles heels and foibles and motivations. And what do we get? We get something that teaches us about ourselves. And this is an amazing story about the old gods trying to find a place in metaphysical America as they try and get pushed out and being pushed out by the new gods Americans are starting to become more and more enamored with. So everyone's trying to find a metaphysical place to belong. This just completely looks at and examines our need as a people to peel back that curtain and understand what's behind existence. What does it all mean? Why do we find it so necessary to praise or to have gods or to try and understand over and over again? It's an amazing achievement and a love letter to the country that he moved to. It's for everything that's going on, it's a very difficult choice to make and hang with, and I understand that, but still in awe for the work, the art by itself, I had to leave it on there.
Separating art from the artist a bit.
I had to do it in this case. I really did. I know everything that's going on, and I felt caused me a lot of hesitancy. But at the same time, just for what I feel the achievement is and what the art itself meant to me, I had to leave it on the list at number 2.
Well, that leaves you with 1.
That leaves me with 1. And when I really started adding some things from this year, rethinking about things, and what is like, I think at this point, if I was to point to what fantasy is in a one-shot, what it can be, what it can do to people, how it can transport you, I can't think of anything better than The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This...
First of all, before you go into how much you love The Hobbit, your number 1 last year, just as a refresh, was Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman.
But I didn't want to do two Neil Gaiman books.
Sure, yeah.
And when I really started breaking it down, for me, American God is a higher achievement, so I left it on. And then I just kind of think when you truly think about, okay, this book, there's magic in these pages. I think there are very few everyman characters that are better than the Bagginses, Bilbo and later Frodo. Like, I can't think of any better everyman character. You just live and die with them. You see behind their eyes because you completely relate to them. The way they see the world they were in, the world building that J.R.R. Tolkien began here with this book. The depth, the history, the magic, the transportation that happens to you as you read it. It shows you what is possible in this genre as an art form because it completely whisks you away. As you read and turn these pages, you are no longer in that chair. You are no longer on that couch. You're no longer lying on that bed on a rainy day or while your friends are waiting for you to go play, but you just can't stop reading. This will completely take you to another land. It's beautiful. It's poignant. It's adventurous. For a standalone fantasy, everything that this genre can do, I can't think of anything that's better than The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien.
Pretty foundational.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do it. I couldn't put it any lower than number. I mean, as I shifted and moved things around and really broke it down and got deeper, it just kept rising to the top. Like there was nothing that I really felt was more influential to me, more magical to me, or even more of an achievement to me on those 5 steps of how we look and break down a book, the world building, characters, plot, pace, and prose.
Well, maybe next year, GGK.
We'll see what happens. I'm definitely going to read some more GGK. We're definitely going to read a lot more of Janny Wirtz. Of course, that's going to be in a series, not standalones. But who knows what's going to happen? We were going to revisit this at the end of 2025 again, and I'm going to put myself through the ringer again, and we'll see what happens.
It will change a lot again.
I have no doubt it's going to change a lot. Let us know in comments what you think. First of all, thanks so much for joining us. Down there in the descriptions, you can find every way to join us possible with Instagram and Twitter and Patreon and the new Discord's down there. Hang out with us there. Everything is down there.
And you can also find a link to all of these books if you've never picked them up before and you want to. Feel free to do that down below.
All right. There you go. If you haven't picked any of these up, absolutely do it. And while you're down there, hey, looking around down there, leave us a comment. What did you think of the list? How is your list? What is your top standalone fantasy and why? Maybe your top 3. Maybe you want to leave your top 10. I love to look at lists. It lets me know what I should be reading next or how we compare. I just love talking about books with people that love books, love the kind of books that I love. It's the whole reason why we started this channel. And while you're down there, hey, hit that thumbs up button. I know you don't even really think about it most of the time, but amazingly enough, it's such a cool, amazing, easy way to support the channel here. It helps us reach new people and grow and make new friends that we can talk to books about and hang out with. And it's just it helps us in every way you can imagine. And hey, maybe this is the first time you've checked us out. You didn't see our list last year. You just stumbled on us this year, or you've come by a time or two and you haven't hit that subscription button yet. Boop, it takes no time at all. Microsecond, you're subscribed. You found a tribe, you found a group, you found a family that love books like you that you can hang out with and talk books about all over the place, Discord all over, and join us on our buddy reads. And let me tell you, it's so amazing when you join that group and you find some people that you can hang with and love the kind of stuff you love. Absolutely. It's going to give you a tingle when you hit that button, no doubt. So that is it for us. Unless you want to throw your list together.
No. I do not want to go through that pain of putting that list together.
It is not pleasant.
I don't envy you having to do it.
At this point, I'm looking at this stack right now. I could make changes right now.
I know you could, but it is too late.
I could absolutely make changes right now, and I know I'm going to get comments that make me go, yeah, I should change that. I should totally change that.
And I know that you're so tempted, I'm going to end the video now. Thanks for watching.
Now, if you're still here with us, that means you're book people, and in my book, that makes you the best people. My name is John Minton. That is...
Guy Gavriel K.
Oh, man, I wish.
For a lot
cool
of reasons,
initials.
I wish. Very cool. GGK. Rolls off the tongue so well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It really does. It's absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for joining us here on Talking Story.